Game week 26 proved to be my best game week of the season, with my rank getting halved. And now going into game week 27, I want to talk about whether there is a forward that we all need to buy in our FPL team. So as always, if you're looking forward to it, please do consider dropping a like and smashing that subscribe button. Enough waffling, let's get into today's video. So first up, I wanted to take a look at how game week 26 went so far for my team. It's worth noting I'm recording this just after the Newcastle Forest game, which finished 4-3, a brace for Isak and an assist for Chris Wood. No goal, thankfully, as I don't own him. And of course, we still have the Liverpool-Man City game to play. But as I mentioned in the intro, this was one of the best game weeks of the season so far, and it was so needed. 77 points, of course, still Trent and Mo Salah captain to go, but we had some monster hauls from some players and managers this week. So of course, we had the goal from Munoz, that 13-pointer. I was really debating going double Everton defence, but with me bringing in Glasner as my manager, I felt like I had to go all in on that Crystal Palace, and these are the swings that you sometimes get in FPL. A 1-pointer for Mykolenko and a 13-pointer for Munoz on another day. I get that decision wrong, and it is what it is, but Munoz with a 13-pointer, my new signing in Buemo delivering with that 14-pointer. He was always on the cards to come in, fought that Leicester game, and thankfully rewarded. Disappointing from the Bournemouth double. Of course, they did go down to 10 men, so I'm not reading too much into that. And Cole Palmer with another blank. I believe that's 5 in the last 6. And I'm seeing right now a lot of managers looking to sell him. I will discuss my personal plans on them, because as a Chelsea fan, I can actually guarantee that we're going to continue to be bad in games coming forward. And obviously Southampton and Leicester coming up next. That is the real debate for managers. Up front, Isak with that 13-pointer. Yes, some managers sold him for Watkins in that double, but thankfully Isak has delivered to kind of make sense of why we kept him. And then Vissa with that 8-pointer against Leicester, really kind of counteracting anything that Chris Wood done. But the big one, of course, was Glasner with that 20-pointer. I spoke about going for Mateta, but when I actually thought about it and my current rank at the time being 215k, I had to be aggressive with this assistant manager chip, and thank God it did pay off with that 20-pointer, and it's led to 77 points and my rank getting half to 98k. So a huge swing. Hopefully we get a Trent hat-trick and a Mo Salah hat-trick to finish off the game week. That would be delightful. But of course, game week 27 is midweek on Tuesday, so we've got to start previewing that game week. So let me know in the comment section, how many points did you get in game week 26 so far? Let's take a look at my game week 27 plans. So here's how my game week 27 team is looking right now without any transfers made. I've got one free transfer available and 1.8 million in the bank. Of course, now that my assistant manager chip has ended, the money that was invested in the manager has now gone back into the bank, and maybe that is the one and only time we will have the assistant manager chip. So I do have fond memories of it from finishing off with Glasner, even though the slot double-double didn't massively pay off in the end. So take a look at my game week 27 team right now. It's worth noting, because I think it's really important to caveat wherever we're discussing our teams what kind of strategy we're on with the blank game week 29 on the horizon. For my team, I have now started to gear it towards not free hitting in 29. I believe I've got a good enough team right now and enough key players to get by and save the free hit for later on in the season, maybe around game week 34, which will be another blank game week projected. So team currently, Pickford away against Brentford, not ideal. If Fabianski was the number one, I obviously would be starting him, but he has lost his place, so Pickford will start away against Brentford. The back three of Munoz at home against Villa, okay. Trent at home against Newcastle, not ideal, and Gabriel away against Forest. So you can see a trend going on here. If my team isn't playing against one another, they just have a tricky fixture. Take a look at the midfield. We've got Cliver and Semenyo away against Brighton, which doesn't look as easy now after the last few Brighton performances. Palmer at home against Southampton. Now, in terms of Cole Palmer right now, I get it. Managers are frustrated with him, but Southampton and Leicester up next at home for Chelsea. Chelsea been awful. But if there's ever a time for them to score some goals, it is going to be the opposition that they do have up next. So if he doesn't deliver in these fixtures, then I give you the right to sell him in game week 29. But honestly, guys, I would not be selling him. The one thing that I will say is captaincy becomes difficult putting it on him and trusting Chelsea as a team. Then we got Salah at home against Newcastle. Of course, they did ship 3 goals against Forest, which makes me a bit more confident. But we need to see what happens in this Man City game for Liverpool. But I think I am leaning towards a captaincy on Mo Salah at the time of recording. And then in Mbeumo at home against Everton. Finding the front two, Isak away against Liverpool, not ideal, especially when I've got a Liverpool defender. You can't really win in this situation, which is not great. And then, of course, Vissa at home against Everton. Again, with Pickford in goal, not ideal. And it's not like I have anybody on the bench that can come in and save the day. We got Mikalenko away against Brentford, Van den Berg injured, and Ndai injured. So when I look at this team right now, who are the actual problems? Well, firstly, I'm not going to sell anybody who has a game in game week 29 that is currently fit. So the ones that blank are going to include Munoz, Trent, Mo Salah, and of course Alexander Isak. Do I want to sell any of those right now? Not really. I think there are good enough fixtures between now and game week 29 to justify keeping them. So if I am going to make a transfer in game week 27, I think it could be at the expense of Ndai. He plays in game week 29, but currently injured and Everton playing quite well right now. There's no guarantees that 1, he's going to be fit, and 2, whether he does walk straight back into the team. He is one of their best players, but I want to know he's fully fit, and me clinging on to Ndai in the hope that he does start, and even if he does start, he's not a proven goal scorer each and every week. That, of course, is their main man, R9 Beto, but yes, I think right now, if I am going to make a transfer, it is going to be in the forward department. So we need to talk about who are the best forwards to buy for game week 27 and beyond. So we have been blessed with a lot of good forwards in FPL this season, but the 2 that are currently on my radar are going to include Cunha at 6.9 million and Mateta at 7.4 million. I know a lot of managers are looking to invest in both of these, so hopefully this will be quite helpful for whatever route you choose to go down. So firstly, we need to take a look at the underlying numbers. Who actually is doing the best stuff for their respective teams? So in terms of goals per 90, Cunha actually leads the way, which is quite surprising. I felt like Mateta has been scoring pretty much each and every game week, but he has still been putting up fantastic numbers. And in terms of expected goals per 90, Mateta does lead the way. And when I do actually think about Mateta, for me, he's much more of a number 9 in this Palace system as opposed to Cunha, who is much more of a creator in this Wolves team. He picks the ball up deep. He can play in the final third at times, like we saw with his goal against Bournemouth. So Cunha a bit of a different player, and we kind of see that with the rest of the underlying numbers. So shots per 90, still Cunha's putting up ridiculous numbers at 3.54, and the shots on target as well at 1.4. A little bit worrying seeing Mateta's at 0.97, but to be honest with you, the way that he's finishing right now, he only needs 1 shot on target the way it's panning out. Shots in the box very similar, but it's when we come down to the more creative numbers, this is where Cunha kind of comes into his own element. Goal assist, 0.17 per 90. We've got expected assist, basically double that of Mateta. Attempted assist, again, double that of Mateta. So all the good stuff is basically in Cunha's favour, but Mateta is playing as the number 9, which we cannot look past at all. And what this is doing for Cunha right now, it means any sort of return puts him pretty much at top bonus, or at least on 2, because he does all of the good stuff on the background that puts him really high up. So Cunha is really appealing. Now, the big factor that we need to consider, of course, are the fixtures, because I spoke about how I'm planning to not free hit in game week 29, and I don't want to just kind of make this quite boring right now, but it makes no sense for me to buy Mateta with the strategy that we discussed. Now, I've spoke about this in previous videos. We are just going to ignore Mateta. Those who are doing a similar strategy like myself, he's going to keep getting points, and we're going to look back and say to ourselves, those points that he's accumulated over those 4 weeks are going to massively outscore the blank that we might get in game week 29 from having a player at the expense of Mateta not featuring. So it is a bit of a hindsight issue. However, in this moment going into game week 27, with the strategy that I'm on, I just can't go there. Now, there are concerns, because Villa at home I think is a fine fixture. Ipswich at home in 28 is brilliant. Yes, he blanks in game week 29, but then they got Southampton away in game week 30, which is again a ridiculous fixture. We also need to remember the back of our minds that then they got Brighton at home and a double in game week 32. So if you can get past game week 29, from now until game week 32, Mateta is an amazing option. But with my strategy right now, I think Cunha is the route to go. Now, let's not forget, in game week 29, Cunha has the favourable fixture that Mateta has in 30 away against Southampton. So that is a real pull factor towards Cunha. And 2 home games before that against Fulham and Everton are okay. After that, West Ham at home and Ipswich away. So actually the fixtures are really similar for both. They just are happening at different points over the next 4 or 5 weeks. So I love Mateta. He's one of my favourite players, physical players, not FPL players. But I just can't go there. I do think with the money available, Ndiaye to Cunha is on the cards for me. And we're going to discuss the long-term plans in a minute. But I think Cunha is a fantastic buy for your teams from game week 27 onwards. So I think it's really important for me to show you guys my game week 27 team up until game week 29 or 30. Just to show you what kind of transfers I have in place going forward. So I've already showed you my game week 27 team already in this video. Firstly, I want to preview game week 29 just to show you what situation my team is in, what players are actually playing for me, which ones are not, and kind of work it backwards and understand who do I think in game week 29 is really important to own and who can actually be sacrificed in game week 29. So as you can see here, Mo Salah not playing, but outside of that, if it dies past fit, I can get by with 10 players and 3 transfers in the bank, maybe 2 if I make a move in game week 27. But when we take a look at the fixtures for game week 29, I need to understand who just feels absolutely essential. So nobody from Everton, West Ham, because I already have a triple up as we speak. Chris Wood feels really important. A Man City attacker, whether that be Haaland, Marmoush, Foden, that feels quite important. A Wolves attacker against the Southampton team, as we discussed, Cunha kind of ticks all those boxes. I'm covered for Bournemouth, Brentford. Arsenal, Chelsea, I'm happy to completely avoid, similar to that of Fulham and Spurs. And then a Man United attacker against Leicester, maybe, but do I want to invest in Man United? Not really. So I think there are 3 really important players, or at least getting a combination of it is going to be Cunha, Chris Wood, and a Man City attacker. But of course, when we look at our game week 29 team, don't really have the spaces available. I mean, do I want to sell Alexander Isak and then buy him straight back for game week 30? And remember, they double in game week 32 and they got Leicester away in 31. I don't really want to sell Isak for 1 game week in isolation to have to buy him back at a more expensive price. Just makes no sense for me. So I'm kind of accepting I'm going to play a 2 up top. So it's a case of a lesser evil. I can't get everybody. So who do I want to prioritise? And as we discussed, going back to game week 27, I just feel like even though Chris Wood keeps delivering and scoring, I think there's more upside in going for someone like a Cunha. So I think Cunha ticks all the boxes with 2 home games coming up. And in that situation, I think I would just bench Semenyo this week and the team would look like this. And I think this is perfectly fine for this game week. Then coming into game week 28, I think it's really important to roll the transfer. And on the face of it, I think this team looks absolutely fine for this game week. I don't feel compelled to force anybody out with the fixtures that they do have. So then coming into game week 29, again, the team looks like this. Still 10 players because, of course, I've sold Ndiaye for another player. So I need to look at it and ask myself, do I want to desperately rip up this team and bring in a Chris Wood or an Erling Haaland? Well, it does feel important to do so, but it would have to be at the expense of either a Mo Salah or someone like a Cole Palmer. So, for example, if I was to sell Mo Salah and go down, firstly, I'm just going to put in someone like Ethan Nwaneri because he's super cheap and understand really what I need to do with this team. I don't want to sell Alexander Isak, as I discussed. So it would be upgrading someone like a Vissa to Erling Haaland, which I'll be pretty content with, and the team would look like this. And something that's worth noting about Erling Haaland is, even if you don't deem him essential for this game in 29, he does have Leicester at home in game week 30, so you almost want to have a plan in place to at least get a Haaland or a Marmoush. And of course, if Marmoush is actually still looking fantastic, then that kind of answers all of our problems. You just bring in Marmoush at a cheaper price. Don't have to worry about selling a Mo Salah. Now, this would give me 0.3 in the bank, so really, Ethan Nwaneri probably would be the route to go for, which doesn't feel fantastic. But the team would look like this. It's not great, but it does cover me off, and I still get to keep people like Alexander Isak. But then, the problem. I come into game week 30, I've got Erling Haaland, who absolutely would be my captain, but of course, no Mo Salah at the expense, which doesn't feel fantastic. Trent would come in, still as a great pick. Isak would come in at the expense of Ethan Nwaneri, no doubt. and Munoz would come in for Vandenberg. So the team will look great as long as I can shut my eyes and just ignore the fact that I don't have Mo Salah, but it doesn't really sit well with me. So what I'm trying to say is this. I still don't know exactly what I'm doing in game week 29 in isolation, but I know for a fact that someone like a Cunha just really helps me out between now and game week 29. And that's why I think in Die to Cunha is the move that I am intending, as I think there's enough upside in this game week to do so. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have I missed any obvious players that should be forced into this team? Yes guys, okay, that's going to wrap up today's Game Week 27 transfer plans video. As I mentioned, it is a midweek deadline, so we are going to be rolling out the videos. We've got the transfer plans today. Tomorrow morning we have the buy, sell, avoid section, and then Tuesday morning, early doors, will be my official team selection alongside a deadline live before it. So there's no better time to subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you did enjoy it, please do consider dropping a like. Any questions, pop them in the comment section. I'll always be answering them. Take care, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.